Dahl, Charlie in the Chocolate Factory. 26. The television chocolate room. The TV family, together with Charlie and Grandpa Joe, stepped out of the lift into the room so dazzling bright and dazzling white that they screwed up their eyes in pain and stopped walking. Mr. Walker handed each of them a pair of dark glasses and said, "Put these on quick, and don't take them off in here whatever you do. This light could blind you." As soon as Charlie had his dark glasses on, he was able to look around him in comfort. He saw a long narrow room. The room was painted white all over. Even the floor was white, and there wasn't a speck of dust anywhere. From the ceiling, huge lamps hung down and bathed the room in a brilliant blue-white light. The room was completely bare except at the far end. At one of these ends, there was an enormous camera on the wheels, and a whole army of Oompa Loompas was clustering around it, oiling its joints and adjusting its knob and polishing its great lens. The Oompa Loompas were all dressed in the most extraordinary way. They were wearing bright red spacesuits complete with helmets and goggles. At least they looked like spacesuits, and they were working in complete silence. Watching them, Charlie experienced a queer sense of danger. There was something dangerous about it, the whole business, and the Oompa Loompas knew it. There was no chattering or singing amongst them here, and they moved about over the black camera slowly and carefully in their scarlet spacesuits. At the other end of the room, about 50 paces away from the camera, a single Oompa Loompa, also wearing a spacesuit, was sitting at the black table glancing at the screen of a very large television set. "Here we go," cried Mr. Wonker, hopping up and down with excitement. "This is a testing room for my very latest and greatest invention, television chocolate." "But what is television chocolate?" asked my chief. "Good heavens, child, stop interrupting me," said Mr. Wonker. "It works by television. I don't like television myself. I suppose it's all right in small doses, but children never seem to be able to take it in with small doses. They want to sit there all day long, staring at the screen." "That's me," said my teeth. "Shut up," said Mr. Teeth. "Thank you," said Mr. Wonker. I shall now tell you how this amazing television set of mine works. But first of all, do you know how ordinary television works? It's very simple. At one end where the picture is being taken, you have a large camera and you start photographing something. The photographs are then split up into millions of tiny pieces, which so small that you can't see them. And these little pieces shoot out into the small electricity. In the sky, there goes whirling around all over the space until they hit the antenna on the floor of somebody's house. They then go flashing down the wire, and that leads right back into the back of the television set, and in there they get giggled and goggled around until at the very single of one of those millions of tiny pieces is lifted back into one of those millions of tiny pieces back into the is fitted back into the right place, just like a jigsaw puzzle, and presto, the photograph appears on the screen. That isn't exactly how it works, Mike Teave said. I'm a little deaf in my left ear, Mr. Wonker said. You must forgive me if I don't hear everything you say. I said, this isn't exactly how it works, shouted Mike Teave. You're a nice boy, Mr. Walker said, but you talk too much. Now then, the very first time I saw an ordinary television working, I was struck by a tremendous idea. Look here, I shouted, if these people can break up a photograph into a million pieces and send the picture whistling through the air, and then put them back together at the other end, why can't I do the same thing with a bar of chocolate? Why can't I send a real bar of chocolate whistling through the air to tiny pieces, and then put the pieces together at the either end, all ready to be eaten? Impossible, said McTeague. You think so? Cried Mr. Wonker. Well, watch this. I shall now send a bar of my very best chocolate from one far end of this room to the other by television. Get ready there. Bring in the chocolate. Immediately 6 Oompa Loompas marched forward, carrying on their shoulders the most enormous bar of chocolate Charlie had ever seen. It was about the size of the mattress he had slept on at home. It has to be big, Mr. Wonker explained, because whenever you send something by television, it always comes out much smaller than it was when it went in. Even with ordinary television, when you photograph a big man, he never comes out on your screen any taller than a pencil, does he? Here we go, then. Get ready. No, stop. Hold everything. You there. Mike Teave, stand back. You're too close to the camera. There are dangerous rays coming out of that thing. They could break you up into a million tiny pieces in 1 second. That's why the Oompa Loompas are wearing spacesuits. The suits protect them. All right, that's better. Now, then switch on. One of the Oompa Loompas caught hold of the switch and pulled it down. There was a blinding flash. The chocolate's gone, shouted Grandpa Joe, waving his arm. He's quite right. The whole enormous bar of chocolate had disappeared completely into thin air. It's on its way, cried Mr. Walker. It is now rushing through the air above our heads in a million tiny pieces. Quick, come over here. He dashed to the other end of the room, where the large television set was standing, and the others followed him. Watch the screen, he cried. Here it comes, look. The screen flickered and lit up, and then suddenly a small bar of chocolate appeared in the middle of the screen. Take it, shouted Mr. Wonker, growing more and more excited. How can you take it? Asked Mike Teave, laughing. It's just a picture on a television screen. Charlie Bucker, cried Mr. Wonker, you can take it. Reach out and grab it. Charlie put out his hand and touched the screen, and suddenly, miraculously, the bar of chocolate came away in his fingers. He was so surprised he nearly dropped it. Eat it, shouted Mr. Wonker. Go on and eat it. It'll be delicious. It's the same bar. It's just gotten smaller on the journey, that's all. It's absolutely fantastic, gasped Grandpa Joe. It's a miracle. Just imagine, cried Mr. Wonker. When I start using this across the country, you'll be sitting at home watching television, and suddenly a commercial will flash onto the screen, and a voice will say, Eat Wonka's chocolate. They're the best in the world. If you don't believe us, try one for yourself now. and you simply reach out and take one. How about that, eh? Terrific, cried Grandpa Joe. It'll change the world.